Question: if the USD went into hyperinflation, with it being the reserve currency, would that automatically push every other currency pegged to the dollar in a way into hyperinflation? Well, I don't know that they'd be able to hold the peg. I don't. Let's see. I mean, it's all a matter of what degree, Mark. You talk about the USD going into hyperinflation. I mean, it's very unlikely that it goes into a Venezuela type of situation, but I think you could see it go from 89 down to, talking about the DXY, down to 70, down to 50. Who knows? I don't know that would dramatically affect. And what it would really affect are the countries who have a lot of dollar denominated debt, because they'd be dancing in the streets because their cash flows are increasing massively relative to their debt burden, because let's say you have a dollar denominated loan and your cash flow is in Colombian pesos or Mexican pesos, like we just talked about, and your Mexican pesos are gaining in value, they're doubling in value. That just means the burden of your debt just got cut in half. And so you'd be dancing in the streets. But as far as the currencies that are pegged, I mean, if it just went into hyperinflation, they'd have to break the peg. And then I don't know that they would be dramatically affected. I'd have to think that through from a standpoint of their FX reserves. I don't think they would have too big of an issue, because the big issue is if the dollar went the other way and in defending their currency, because then you'd have an issue of FX reserves. I mean, but then, then you got a carry trade that you'd have to think about there. And then you'd have to think about interest rates. There would be some serious market distortions. That's for sure. As far as what they would be, I'd have to think it through and like do a whiteboard video on it, or just get it on my legal pad right here, Mark. But interesting question, that's for sure. But I don't know that I'd look at it in terms of hyperinflation. I do it as maybe a thought experiment, but understand the probabilities are relatively low. But the probabilities are a lot higher that it goes down to maybe 60 or 50 on the DXY. So I think your mental bandwidth would be better allocated to thinking about what happens if the dollar goes down to 50 on the DXY, compared to what happens if we get Venezuela type of hyperinflation with the US dollar.